Welcome to the Kingspiration Podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
I've been carrying on with this cold for like a week. It's just like, runny nose and stuff like that. So,
Start the break though. Have you taken some time off?
No.
Oh, well, there we go.
Really. Well, I had about 2 days of rest. We had a forum retreat in Guadalajara, Mexico.
Okay.
And I got bit by all these. It was an awesome retreat. We got to meet up with some other entrepreneurs there and toured their businesses. And then we toured this tequila factory, this organic tequila factory, and we were out in the fields with the agave. And I got bit by all these mosquitoes, like my ankles. It's got to be 30 mosquito bites around.
Wow.
It's insane. And then when we got home, like I was just asleep for 2 days almost. I was exhausted. And then I had runny nose after that. So I don't know if I got COVID or what, but I thought it was just like a cold or just travel fatigue, but it's been kind of lingering on. So in the middle of all of that, me recovering from this cold, I get connected with this publicist through a friend of a friend in a group that I'm in. And then I end up getting interviewed for a TEDx talk in Utah. Yeah. And I was like, and it had a deadline. And I told her, I said, I really can't meet this deadline. I don't feel good. I need to get over this cold. And she was like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I've checked out your stuff. You're already a speaker. I think this would be great for you. So I did this TEDx interview with the event organizers, and I got accepted. So I'll be doing a TEDx talk in October. How crazy is that?
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm sure you know about TEDx, and like it's it has the potential to definitely boost my speaking credibility. It's it has to be a very finely tuned speech, so it's not the same as when we go out and speak to other audiences.
18 minutes, or what is the length? Longer than 18.
18, I think, is the official TED stage. This one, it's about 8 minutes for this.
Okay, but it's
TEDx. Yeah. And as you know, the shorter the speech is, the harder it is to craft it. You have to deliver one point, one message. She was explaining to me, it can't be these lists and step by step, do this and do that. So it's challenging for me because a lot of the stuff I talk about is very, step by step and methodical. So I'll be working with a coach over these next 6 weeks to really fine tune that TED Talk and nail it and get it perfect. So as a byproduct of that, I'm also getting PR and press leading up to the TED Talk, and everything is just moving really fast. This came out of nowhere. So right after this call with you today, I'll be on this news channel, and they've sent me a list of questions that they're probably going to ask. So I figured
you want to run through those.
Yeah, let's run through them, and then we can use it as a conversation starter too for our audience.
Yeah. To use this time and help. And by the way, what is your topic for your TEDx talk?
So it may change, but the working title is Abundance on Autopilot.
Abundance on, oh wow, I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, so we can go into that. That's one of the questions that kind of goes into teasing it a little bit, or automated abundance. It may change a lot. We'll see. We'll see how things go. This should be. I'm anticipating that this next 4 weeks is really going to put me through the ringer as I do these coaching calls and refine my talk. And then after 4 weeks, the next 2 weeks is just all about rehearsing, polishing it, making sure that the delivery is nailed on it.
Yeah.
So I sent you the questions on WhatsApp if you want.
Perfect.
Maybe you can be my mock interviewer, and
I can definitely do that. I was busy going, you know what I've been finding is a great way for us to also just get topics is just going through my Readwise list. So if I go through all my Readwise highlights, that just brings up so many great nuggets that have been highlighted that could be used for as a topic of conversation. The one in particular, and I'll mention it and then we'll jump into your list, that I was looking at is, so I'm busy reading a book at the moment called The Pathless Path by Peter Millerd, M-I-L-L-E-R-D, Millerd. And it says, instead of thinking about what you want to do with your life, you default to the options most admired by your peers. And I was like, that's a really interesting insight. Does that happen?
oh yeah,
Yeah, a lot of the things that we can achieve, do we want to achieve them because it's what we want to achieve or what will look great in the eyes of everybody that we know, all of our peers? Anyway, so we will cover that at some stage, I think.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, your parents too. A lot of
your
this.
parents.
Yeah,
For sure, for sure. What channel, what news show are you going to be on?
It's called It's called Biz Talk. It's on Newsbreak TV out of Houston, Texas. And I could go and do an in-studio appearance, but being that I just found out about this last night, I didn't think I was going to try to jump on a flight to Houston. So this will be on Zoom. But she said that I could go back and do an in-studio appearance. So apparently it's the only 24/7 bilingual business news station. So I could do it in Spanish also. The problem is I don't know Spanish, so I won't be knowing that.
I was going to ask. That's a bit challenging then.
I do have like a 370-day streak on Duolingo. So that
really?
I don't think that's enough to get me through a whole business interview.
No, not a chance. But hey, that's good to know. Right. Yeah. So Ethan King, welcome to Kingspiration.
Thank you. Absolutely, Justin. Great to be here.
Very first up, you have achieved Amazon bestseller status in 50 categories with your book, Wealth Beyond Money. What's the core message you want your readers to take away from it?
So we're all chasing something, right? And for the best part in America, we have the American dream, the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And what I've found in being an entrepreneur over 20 years is that often it's the pursuit of happiness that can have the detrimental effect that can lead us to despair. So that led me to write Wealth Beyond Money, which, don't get me wrong, money is important. It's very important. And a good part of the book actually teaches you practical ways to create more money and more wealth in your life, but also that there are 6 different dimensions of life and that they all deserve equal attention to bring you true wealth, true happiness. And to my surprise, actually, one of the categories where we hit number 1 in Amazon bestseller was the category of happiness. And I only used the word happiness in the book 3 times, but really that's what the book is about. Wealth Beyond Money is about achieving true happiness in life in a well-rounded sense.
Do you think that's achieving happiness without being in the pursuit of happiness? Is it finding happiness as a byproduct of the things that you outline?
It's finding happiness. It's being aware of all of the 6 dimensions of success, which I break down in an acronym called SIMPLE: your spirituality, intellect, your money, your physical presence, your love and relationships, and your entertainment. Often what happens is we have tunnel vision and we chase after one thing, say after money, for example, in business, where we want to have revenue growth or grow our company bigger and bigger. The problem is when we neglect the other areas. So the key is constant contextual calibration across all 6 dimensions of success. And that is what really leads you to true happiness. And sometimes it can feel very counterintuitive. If, say, for example, one of the stories I talk about in the book is when I was going through a really tough situation in my business. We were fighting this lawsuit and it was just draining down on our finances and causing me stress, keeping me up at night. So I was down in the different levels of money and I was feeling down in my physical health because I wasn't working out. So it was pulling down in all these different areas. And that's when I decided, okay, I've got to put a stop to this. It had gotten to a point in my lawsuit where I was like, okay, I've done all I can do. I'm just going to leave it in God's hands. And then I focused on my fitness. I actually trained for my first marathon while I was in the middle of this lawsuit. So it seems counterintuitive, but by me completing that marathon and getting my fitness up and focusing on other areas of my life, it actually helped me balance things out and brought me true happiness in the end. And it also helped me get some clarity around the lawsuit. So we were able to prevail in that as well.
And when following this simple framework, is there a linear approach to it, or how does one decide where to start and where to allocate the majority of your energy? Is there a step-by-step process for that as well?
There's a formula. I'm glad you asked that. So the key is to start each day with a snapshot of your levels in each area. Your spirituality, intellect, money, physical presence, love and relationship, entertainment. And you're not judging yourself. It's just an honest snapshot on a scale of 1 to 10. Like where am I today, this morning? And there's actually an accompanying journal, the Wealth Beyond Money Companion Journal, that walks you through this process on a daily basis. And then based on your levels, you take, and I give step-by-step actions in the book on things that you can do to raise your levels in certain areas so that you can, if you think about it like the wings of an airplane. Next time you're on a plane, look out at the wings and you'll notice that the wings aren't just rigid. There's like dozens of little tiny flaps that are always adjusting and micro calibrating. So that's the key here is the constant micro calibration across those levels in your life. So that's why I say it's good to take a snapshot on a day-to-day basis, and then you can focus on where you want to adjust.
Amazing. And I like the idea of doing that in a non-judgmental way, because we are all very difficult on ourselves. So you're not necessarily grading yourself. It's just a snapshot. Where am I at, and how do I take that next step forward? Yes, I really do like that. So Ethan, you're not just an author. You're also a very successful entrepreneur with businesses like stuffforgreeks.com and Zeus's Closet. How do you balance entrepreneurship with writing and your career in public speaking as well?
Was that my internet? You froze up on me. So.
Oh, sorry. I'll do that again. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
So I was saying, Ethan, you're not just a successful author. You're also a very successful entrepreneur with businesses like stuffforgreeks.com and Zeus's Closet. How do you balance entrepreneurship with writing and also a very successful public speaking career?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times it can be like riding a unicycle and juggling fire at the same time, right? But no, I've found that the key is good systems and processes. And I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, so I'm not going to make it sound like it happens overnight. But one thing I've learned is I've been fortunate to build a great team to run my businesses in my absence. And my business partner, who is my wife, she is a solid foundation as well. But we've also built solid systems and processes using automation, and even lately introducing AI, which has helped us a lot. And we can talk more about that later if you want to as well. But the key is to have those systems and processes in place where I can be anywhere in the world and check in, where I can be away from the business for a week, 2 weeks, even a month, and it could run without me. And that's also something that I teach other business owners how to do, so that we can pursue our passions, our other passions in life, because we're not one-dimensional characters.
That's really interesting. And I heard somebody speaking about the concept, you're speaking about processes and procedures. And I heard them speaking about the concept of a lot of business owners falling into the trap of always thinking that they can hire people to fix problems in their business, which is, there's obviously some truth to that. You always want to be hiring the best people available, people that are smarter than yourself that can do that. But what they were saying is, instead of always trying to hire people who are going to fix ordinary processes, what you want to do is hire people and elevate them with extraordinary processes that you have in your business already. And that seems to be aligned with what you're speaking about as well.
Oh yeah, in fact, that's a great way to put it. And I've learned a lot of this through trial and error. Early in my business career, we would just hire people, like throw people at a problem, throw people at it, throw people at it. And then we ended up overstaffed with a bloated payroll that didn't support the amount of revenue we were bringing in. And it's funny. I remember, I mean, at one point we had like 17 people on staff. We were doing a certain amount of revenue. And now we're doing more revenue than we were doing then with about 8 people. So half the staff and higher revenue. But and when I look back on it, I'm like, man, what were we thinking? But it just came from incremental improvements. If you look at every single process, one thing that I talk about in the book is if you take every process step by step and you say, okay, that you're doing as the business owner, and you say, you eat it, EAT. First of all, do I really need to do this? Can I eliminate this process somehow? Like half the stuff we do, we probably don't even really need to do. We just kind of get in the habit of doing it. If you can't eliminate it, if it's an absolutely necessary process that needs to be done for your business, can you automate it? That's the A. So eliminate it, automate it. And you have tools out there like Zapier, IFTTT. We have we use it, Infusionsoft for our email marketing, where you set up automated email drip campaigns. And a lot of them do that, ClickFunnels, MailChimp. But there's lots and lots of ways to automate things, especially now with the boom and the surge in AI and ChatGPT. If you don't know how to automate something, just ask ChatGPT. What are some ways I can automate this process? And then if you can't automate it, then you need to train someone else to do it. So that's the T. Eliminate, automate, or train someone else to do it. And I use the word train instead of delegate because what I found is that oftentimes we delegate, but we don't train someone thoroughly on how to do it. And then we're disappointed in the results. But if you start with the mindset of training and documenting the step-by-step process, then handing it off to someone, the delegation will go a lot smoother.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the idea that somebody explained processes to me as we've all got that drawer. We've all got that drawer or that cupboard in our house where if you're needing some press stick or a battery, or you're looking for a certain key, or where there's a pair of scissors, there's that drawer, there's that cupboard. And that's a lot like a process in that you might clean it out at the beginning of the year, and come the end of the year again, it's messy. It's got all these things in it. And processes are like that as well. You need to review them on a regular basis because they're always bad habits that creep in, and an extra step or something that no longer needs to be there that can be removed. So once a process is set, don't expect it just to run like that forever. You've got to keep revisiting and cleaning that drawer.
Yeah, we call it the junk drawer in the US. What do you guys call it?
Probably the junk drawer. I should have just explained it that way as a starting point. So Ethan, you've been a public speaker on a variety of topics, from marketing to personal development. What's the most impactful talk you've given so far, and why?
So probably my most recent talk is having the most impact. And this one is actually a bit more tactical, where I talk about AI and combining that with digital marketing. And I had a cute little title that I came up with called Every Day, Everywhere, All at Once. And it's kind of a spin on the movie. But it's about how I've been able to achieve a presence on social media, posting every day on every social media network with only 15 minutes of my personal time required. And I break down how I'm using AI tools and delegating it to a virtual assistant who publishes for me on every social media channel every single day. And it's one person, and he actually does a great job. And right now he's doing it for 5 different brands for me every single day on every network. So the fact you couldn't even do this 5 years ago, you would need, it would cost you thousands of dollars and a bunch of human capital to pull this off. But now you can do it with one person because of the tools that are available. So I break down that process, but I think what's more impactful about this speech is that I start out with my story and how I got to this point, because a lot of times we can be shy in front of a camera or stepping on stage. I think most people are kind of shy when it comes to that regard. And I'm no exception. I was very concerned about sharing my story and being vulnerable and getting on a stage. And kind of through an accidental chain of events, I ended up sharing publicly a lot of things that I was very ashamed of in my past. And when I reluctantly shared them with a reporter and they ended up in the newspaper, it actually it boosted my presence, boosted my business, and made me more comfortable with sharing these things. So I talk about that and the importance of vulnerability and the storytelling patterns that we should implement into our social media strategy, because it's not just about the frequency of posting on social media, but it's about what you're posting and the story you're telling that gets people to connect with you. So that talk has been going really well, and I do it for companies and nonprofit organizations, and then we get deep into a strategy session for that particular company or that organization, to where, okay, this is a plan where you can use AI, and this is your exact marketing plan. These are your next Instagram posts that you can do for the next 30 days. These are your next Facebook posts, your next LinkedIn posts. These are the scripts for the videos that you can do. So they leave with that tangible asset.
That's amazing. So, question that I've got is, because you speak, and obviously to have an authentic presence, which is what you have, an authentic presence online, or just in general, it is about being vulnerable and being able to share. So how do you make I'm going to call it the mental leap from feeling like you need to control that narrative by posting yourself and physically doing the doing? How do you make the mental leap from that to automating and trusting in somebody else to do it, so that it only takes 15 minutes of your time? Because there's a lot of trust that goes with that. And is it still going to be the correct narrative? Am I going to be positioned in the correct way? So how did you overcome that?
Yeah, well, that goes back to the training part. You got to make sure that you communicate to the person how you want to communicate in your voice. If the person's really good, they can tell from your content. Well, first of all, you should be vulnerable in your content so that someone can see the narrative and adapt it. And then what I've done is everything that I do, I record, just like what we're talking about here. This interview will be recorded, will go into a content library that my social media guy can pull from and do clips and put out. And what's cool now is there are so many AI tools. Like one, for example, is video.ai, VIDYO.ai, that can take a full length recording, let's say a 30-minute interview, and using AI, it will chop it into TikTok sized clips that it knows will be important to the audience. So it knows where to start and where to stop based on the content, so that it captures the full thought that will be impactful to the audience. And then it will take that clip and actually put captions on it for you. So a lot of this can be done by AI, but that in combination with a human being captures the narrative. But then back to the training part of it, you need to train, whether you're training a human or training AI, because you can also train ChatGPT. If you go down in your settings, there's actually a feature that just came out a couple of weeks ago where you can tell ChatGPT about yourself, who you are, the voice you speak in, maybe some accolades you've won, something about your background, so that ChatGPT is communicating with you specifically, and it is trained on you and your business and your narrative. So that part is very important. But what's great is we can train humans and we can train AI on that storytelling aspect.
Amazing. But it's just taking the time to do the training, which is where a lot of us fall short, for sure.
Yeah. And it'll come to bite you. Like there was one, just like with anything else, sometimes you train employees, team members, and they might drop the ball, and you have to course correct, right? And you do it in a certain way where you're not scolding them or reprimanding them, because every human deserves dignity and respect. You can tell them in a certain way. So there was one clip that I saw of myself on social media where it was in this clip, I was just like bragging about all these accomplishments, and it was so cringy. But what happened was, it was a speech that I was giving, in that particular clip left out the part before and left and after it. The way it was edited it just seemed like I was just bragging, but it left out the part right before that where I was probably going through like the most hellish part of my life and down in the dumps. But so without that part of it, people just think that you're kind of a douche, or if you, or whatever the word, I don't know what you call it in South Africa.
Douche. Douche. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a worldwide term. Huh?
That's universal.
It's universal. Okay. Yeah. So you don't want to come off that way. And I was like, oh my goodness. And actually that's one that I went back and deleted. And I told my social media guy, like, hey, you got to show the whole journey. And you got to show the from and the to. Otherwise you just come off the wrong way and you can turn a lot of people off.
Yeah. Context is king. And I think that's where a lot of people do get. And that's what where a lot of reporters will, Andrew Tate comes to mind when he's being grilled around a lot of things. Interesting character and love him or hate him. But taken out of context, certain things that he says are just, they sound wild.
Yeah.
But very often when you add the context, there's an element of understanding that you can have towards things that he has shared.
Yeah, 100%.
So Ethan, I hear you have, and it's very exciting, I hear you have a TEDx talk coming soon. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the cat's out of the bag. And I'm able to talk about it now. The TEDx talk, I'm super excited about it. It's a lot about what we've been talking about on this call, but the working title is Automated Abundance. And it's about putting these things on autopilot, thinking about those 6 dimensions of success: your spirituality, intellect, money, your physical presence, love, relationships, and entertainment. And how can you put those micro calibrations on autopilot? Because back to the airplane metaphor, do you know that when you're on an airplane, it's on autopilot over 90% of the time for the duration of your flight? The pilots really kick in during takeoff and landing. Aside from that, it's pretty much on autopilot. So how can you do the same for your life across those 6 dimensions? What tools can you implement? What mindsets can you implement to take you there? So that's what the focus of the TED Talk will be about. And I look forward to sharing that with the world.
And when can we expect the TED Talk to be available?
Let's see. It will happen in October, like October 20th. But then it has to go to the official TED headquarters in New York, and they have to vet it. And I think it takes about 8 weeks from that point before they put it on the actual TED website. So yeah, it's an exciting journey.
It's exciting indeed. And I just want to go back to the title, and you spoke about automated abundance. And is that just it's abundance in all areas of our life, across the simple framework, and every one of those areas we can just, and what in your mind, how would you define abundance? Is it more than one needs, more than one could expect for themselves? What can I really understand from the term abundance?
Yeah, great question. My definition of abundance is not feeling a sense of lack in any area. For example, let's talk about money. Since my book is titled Wealth Beyond Money, you often hear people say, well, money isn't everything, or money won't bring you happiness. Actually, money will bring you happiness. And if you look at it a different way, the absence of money brings you a lot of stress and sorrow. So therefore, having that money will bring you some degree of happiness, because if you didn't have any money woes, you wouldn't have those particular stresses and sorrows. Now, it's not going to remove all pain from your life. Of course, you can still have health issues. You can still have relationship issues. But to a certain degree, and there was that research that came out years ago that they actually did an analysis and found out that a certain salary, people felt fulfilled at a certain salary amount. And I think at the time it was like $75,000, right? Yeah. Which in today's, after inflation and COVID and stuff, that's probably more like, I don't know, $120,000. But there's a number where people feel content. That's the point, where you feel like, okay, my needs are met. If you think about that, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once you get up a certain point on that ladder, then it frees you up to think about bigger things and your greater purpose in life and, transformation and things like that. So, that's, to me, that's what abundance is where you don't feel that sense of lack, and you feel that you have access to whatever you want in life. Even if it's not in your bank account, you know that you can do it. You have access to it.
I love that, to not have, it's that, not have a sense of lack,
right?
Which is huge. I mean, even just thinking through that, to apply my mind to that is massive. And if you can go across or through each of those areas in your life and not feel lack at all, it's a special place to be. And it's difficult to imagine then not finding some form of happiness in that. Very much so. I do have one last thought and one last question, and now I'm trying to. It was a goodie, and now I'm just trying to find where I was wanting to go again. It was so we're speaking about money not necessarily buying happiness, but it does certainly by a degree. I'm wondering, people who are driven by wanting to make a significant impact in the world, because that's not necessarily a driver for everybody. Someone may want to have an impact on their family, which is perfect, and that's very admirable and wonderful. Some people want to have impact on their family and their small community of friends. Some people want to have an impact on their family, small community of friends, and their greater community. Some people want to have an impact on millions of people across the world. Do you think their happiness is driven more by money, considering having more money will allow them to have a greater impact on that larger number of people? So depending on the amount of impact you want to have in the world, as far as how many people you necessarily want to impact, do you think that's directly correlated to more happiness if you have more money?
I think everyone's a little different. And when I think about figures like Steve Jobs, for example, obviously he was a billionaire. He didn't have, okay, well, you have to look at different phases of his life. But in reading his biography, when he came back to Apple and started developing iPod and the iPhone and things like that, he didn't seem to be driven by money. I don't think he did it to I'm going to get rich. Now he was a billionaire. Like, he didn't have any money worries, any money issues, but he was driven by something greater, right? And he changed the world. He changed the course of history by developing these communication devices. So you have to be driven by a bit more.
North Star. North Star takes us back to our conversation.
You have to have a North Star. Elon Musk taking people to Mars, and even creating the Tesla, revolutionizing electric vehicles, and look where that, and then releasing all the trademarks and patents, and now other companies are building all these EVs so that the world is less dependent on fossil fuels. You're thinking beyond money. He didn't do it just to get rich. In fact, if you look at the way he lives, reportedly, it's not even like this lavish lifestyle. But I do think that if you're not already wired that way, you have to get to that point. And most of us, it's like if you're in the ocean and you're swimming and you're drowning, what's the first thing you want? You need oxygen. So if you're drowning financially, you need money. That's all you can think about. It's like, I need money. So if you can get past that point and then think about bigger things, that's where you have an opportunity to change the world and impact the world, just like the Steve Jobs and the Elon Musks.
Amazing. And I think that's a fantastic place to wrap this episode up. Ethan, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Where can our listeners find you if they're wanting to find out more about Ethan King, about your book, about your speaking? Where can they look you up?
You can find me on all the social media channels at Ethan King. Go to my website. All the links are there. EthanKing.com is my website, the easiest way to get in touch with me. And thanks for the opportunity, Justin. Great to be here.
Amazing. I appreciate you, and I look forward to chatting again soon. Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for holding me up there, man. I needed that.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.